can you please explain to us how did you first learn about the Narad collection and how did you acquire it?
Yes, that's just a story. Because I saw it in a Swedish magazine called Fotonyheterna, Photographic News, very good one, a large paper, that Professor Narad in Berlin wanted to sell his collection.
Yes.
And he wanted to sell it to an institution in a neutral country. You know, at that time, East was East and West was West, and I've been came into Berlin. I know what it is, the difference, and what is now, and you know how it was. So I sent a letter to this gentleman, Harold Zettersten. He was a technical engineer. Specialty was aerodynamics. And he was also English, so he had two passports, one English, one Swedish, so he changed when he wanted, nobody knew. A very nice man. And I said to me, I'm very interested in this collection. And he sent me half, later he said, I'm sorry I sent you such a letter. Because, well, if you're not an institution, I was a private museum. So maybe it will be sold to Belgium, so and so. Half a year later I got a letter. Mr. Preus, are you still interested in it? And I got the price. I don't think I will tell you the price in figure because it's something with his Mr. Narad. But I got the price for it. And I went to the bank, I sent a check in German mark of 50%, a bit more than 50% of the price. With no other discussion, only I sent him half of the money. Because Mr. Narad asked, does it mean he's serious, this Mr. Preus? I sent half of the money. And then we went to Berlin, and I met Mr. Narad. I took his portrait, which you will have here, I think, and you have Mr. Zettersted's. And he was a very nice man. He was sick, and he told me about the bombardment, etc., etc. And I bought, I don't remember how many tons it was altogether, and I paid the rest of the price. And I took one thing in my pocket, one little thing in my pocket here, and in my opinion, this was worth the full price. It was the very first Lippmann photograph I ever had seen in original, and it was wonderful by Lippmann. Professor Lippmann is the three colors, which is extraordinary. I was happy, and then years come, and you will believe it. So it comes to Horten. And I went to Berlin later. I met Professor Gottman, which is the leader of Museum für Verkehrstechnik in Berlin. And he said to me, Mr. Preus, the Narad collection. I said, yes, it should never have been out of Berlin. It should have been there. But you know the political situation. But it's there and everything you need. And you have seen all the prints I made of it? Yes, so I've done as much as possible. But a funny thing can happen. One day, do you know what about old American women with blue hair? You know the type with blue hair? We talk about it in Norway. She has blue hair. Well, they color the hair in a special way to be a bit grey, but it's light blue. And one day I was in the little museum in another place in Horten, and two young old ladies come in with blue hair, and she said, well, we are passing, but it's a sort of museum here. Yes, it's a sort of museum. It's a photo museum. And they looked around, and then one of them came to me, Mr. Preus, I have a question. Why do you have a portrait of Mr. Albert Narad at the way? I told her the story and said, but I is the assistant to his son Peter Narad in America, in the United States. Isn't that something?
This is
the end of the story. Now it's here. Ask Mr. Gold. So that's why it came here. And it was very happy, and it was. And you also know that we had I brought that with me because maybe yes. We have also the very rare wood images here,
Oh,
and that's the best reproduction I made of it.
mhm.
I used 3 hours here in the library trying. It's a very special process, and it's so rare. It's one of the rarest colors in the whole world, photographs. And I used 3 hours only to see the colors, trying to see them.
I understand, yeah.
So I wanted to show it to you.
I don't recognize the process.
And
That's
we
a-
have letters from Wood to Mr. Neuhaus about this process.
Oh, yes.
You will find the originals here, so I will show you.
Thank you.
But later we found that. And maybe some meters said, okay,
May I ask you a question? When you when you learned about the Narad archive, did you ask for some details what actually is
oh
contained?
yes, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, naturally.
And what did you learn?
Well, I learned about the Neuhaus, the meter, the Lippmann images, and I learned that he was very interested. He has made a lecture on measuring small colors because he was a stamp collector, small
Yes.
colors and small type. And I also knew about his interest or his work with sound cinematography. And it was also there some film material, including some originals of the Max Skladanowski
Yes.
images, which was before
Yes.
the French, you know. He was the first in Wintergarten in Berlin, first to show moving before the French did it, some weeks.
Very interesting.
So I knew it a bit, and I, in a way, you have, in life, we are talking about reality, and we have intuition.
Mhm.
And I believe that many big scientists must have an intuition in addition to their.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I thought that's something. Here is something. It was much more than I expected. Much more than I expected, naturally. So I'm very happy that we have it, and it's a source for studying. And I'm very. And thank you very much for coming here.
Well, thank you very
Very
much
nice
for
to
saving
meet
the
you.
collection. Yes.
You know, I have an admiration for your country, for your language, for your art and culture. I always had it, so
When was the
I
last
feel
time
very
you
well
went
to
to
meet you.
Russia?
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, thank you. May I ask you maybe the last question? One of my dreams is to create a kind of a documented history, how the legacy of people who worked with triple color survived. And I think that what you have done is one of the most important parts of this history. Are there any documents which might be available on the history of the acquisition of this collection?
Yes,
Are there any letters which
Yes.
might be possible to
Yes,
see,
yes.
whatever the...
they're all collected.
Oh,
They're all. Maybe they are here. Maybe I have it, but we have it.
do you think at least some of them are possible to be seen and to be studied?
Yes, I will find it for you.
Well, thank you
No
very
problem.
much.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
For example, one of the very interesting things is what kind of material you, first of all, made
Yes,
you
yes.
enthusiastic about the
I have
collection.
a copy of the letters to Harold Zettersten and to
Thank you very
Narad,
much.
etc.,
Thank you very
etc.
much.
And I have photographs which I took there.
Oh, excellent, excellent,
So,
excellent. If, well, this is some kind of a plans we're having for the year 2007,
Yes.
I didn't tell this yet to Mr. Gold yet,
The
but
year of the celebration of autochrome.
that's of autochrome, but it's about triple color.
I know.
Strange way to celebrate autochrome.
No. But I have one idea.
You do? Oh,
Yes.
very good.
And I have a question to you, so we have to study it.
Uh-huh.
That's a crazy idea. I have a very crazy idea. I have no background for it. Maybe it is in all black and white photographs you ever find from the beginning. Maybe it is a small, not seen interference there.
That's right.
You have not seen it, it's true. But now, in our time, you have possibly measure instruments, or maybe, so maybe if you find that interference, maybe they are colored, all of them. That's a crazy idea.
I hope
Please.
to live to the day when...
Please,
Thank you. Thank you. Very good.
that's for you. So
No, it's
you're
not
good.
so there are descriptions about this.
Idea. Interference has always been there. Some small mistakes or little.
So, I don't know if I may ask you just one small thing else. This is when you were looking through the collection, the Narod collection, you don't recall if there were any triple glass negatives or triple glass positives in the collection?
Yes,
From me.
there were some. And we have one glass plate with two of them, and I believe the third one is missing. It's just ordinary glass plate, and they are stick to it.
Are they in the museum?
I think the third is missing.
Yeah, Hanna didn't find this.
Maybe yes, and no, maybe no. But not the collection, not so. And we never talked about it. I talked to this sick gentleman, maybe half an hour, maybe an hour. He was a very
Professor
nice
Narod.
man, very
Yes.
polite, but he passed away not so. But he was very happy to know that now his collection will be taken care of. And I should wish that maybe they in the museum here could make a little place that here is an Albert Narod collection. That would be very nice of you to do, so visitors can see that here you can find it.
Well, it might be possible.
And excuse me.
Sure.
And fortunately, much of the handwritings in this archive is in Gothic German, which I read. I read Goethe's Farbelehre in first edition. I read 1,500 pages. I read all of it. I've read all of it. So I can, but not handwriting. It's very difficult. But I had a German-born secretary I found in Horten. So she has translated everything over to German and to Norwegian. So we have it. It's easy to read also. We have a lot of things about this Narod archive. A lot of them.